I welcome you to this conversation that we're going to be having today on trying to reach people who are kind of trapped behind a wall and we can't get to them as a result of trauma and specifically in the case of loss and bereavement. My name is Cherri Forsyth and I'm a bereavement and peak performance coach. And particularly in these days of the COVID virus, I think what we're speaking about today is really relevant in that many people worldwide are experiencing many losses. Obviously, the biggest one is the loss of loved ones, but people are also experiencing the loss of a job, a loss of their independence, a loss of their health, a loss of lifestyle, and all of those losses will fall under the umbrella of grief. And so our talk today is going to be specifically geared at grief and bereavement. But in fact, in any trauma, people get locked behind a wall, or they can get locked behind a wall, and then communication stops and relationships stop because of that. So I'm very honored today to introduce my guest, Hedy Schleifer from Washington, DC. And she's going to share her wisdom with us on how to really be able to connect with people at their essence. And that forms the richness of relationships. So Hedy is internationally revered as a relationship builder. Her wisdom has been shared in 38 countries. How amazing is that? She has given TED Talks, she's written documentaries about this process that she's going to be talking about later. She's the founder of the Encounter-Centered Couples Transformational Approach. So that she shows us how to really be able to connect with each other. I believe that Hedy's work is very sacred and very honoring of individuals and couples in whatever relationship that they are engaged in. Because she shows people how to really connect so that we can get to from my authentic heart to their authentic heart. And the relationship that results is very loving, very committed, very resilient, and very strong. So Hedy believes that the world peace actually begins with the family unit, and that we can start building the relationships from there, and so it'll spread out over the world. And we really need it hugely at this time when our whole world is in crisis. Hedy has been practicing psychotherapy for 40 years, so there's a wealth of wisdom there. And she also draws on her marriage to her beloved Yumi. They've been married for over 50 years. So I would be one that would really listen to somebody who's been married for that length of time. I'm sure you will feel the same. So as viewers, you are in for an absolute treat today in my interview with Hedy. My husband Mike and I were very privileged to attend Hedy's 3-day workshop in Johannesburg, and it was absolutely life-changing for us. We entered the workshop, we had suffered the loss of our younger daughter, and we were in trouble. And in being able to apply the tools that Hedy taught us over that weekend, our lives were transformed. Hence this interview, because I'm hoping through this interview that you can maybe transform your life as well. So welcome, Hedy. Thank you so much for giving up your time for us.
Oh, thank you for that beautiful welcome, Cherri. I actually loved everything you said, and I thought, ooh, I like this woman, Hedy Schleifer. The way you spoke her.
Well, Well, it is the truth. It is. So what we're wanting to share today is how we can apply and maybe adapt the process that you're going to speak about, specifically on how to connect deeply with other people, how we can adapt that and apply that to people who are in the process of grieving and might be quite isolated as a result of that. So if you're comfortable, can we dive right in?
Let's dive right in.
Brilliant. Okay, so the first question I have, Hedy, is this process, is it applicable to everybody across the board, whether or not they're in a trauma, whether or not they're in a bad relationship? I mean, can it be used very effectively for couples and people within even friendships where they are in a really healthy relationship already?
I'm glad you're starting with this question, Cherri, because what we're going to be talking about, this way of connecting, is applicable to everyone. It's applicable to couples in relationship, any couple in relationship, whether the relationship is right now in crisis or the relationship is good and you want to deepen it. Or people who are not in a primary relationship, but they have good friends and they feel like they want to deepen those friendships. Because you said it, it's essence to essence, authentic heart to authentic heart. And that applies across the board.
Brilliant. So wherever you are, whatever situation you are, if you're wanting to deepen that relationship, this process is tailor-made for you.
Indeed.
Okay, so Hedy, I'd love you to share how you came to develop this process with the 3 invisible connectors and the space, the encounter. How did you come to uncover this process?
I'm going to start at the very beginning, because when Yumi and I got married, I say we were the Olympic champions of unconsciousness. We didn't even know that something like consciousness existed, and we loved each other, and we thought that's all a couple needs. They need love and goodwill, and all will be well. And I have to tell you that already on our honeymoon, our what I call survival dance started. Because Yumi bought a camera that he was dreaming of, and the camera came with a manual how to have a good relationship with a camera, 254 pages. And so suddenly Yumi realized he didn't have a manual like this about his wife, and he's an engineer, so he plunged into the manual about the relationship with the camera, and I started missing him. Where are you? You're in a book. I want your hand, I want your eyes, I want your hugs. And that pattern of me grabbing him and him pushing away started in a very small fashion. But as I now know, the survival dance starts in the honeymoon and then grows and grows and grows because we did not have a way of dissolving that dance. And then slowly but surely, we became students of relationship. And we went to workshops ourselves, like the one you came, that we had organized, and began to really learn. And ultimately, we arrived at a guiding principle. And I'm going to tell you the guiding principle, and then you'll ask all the questions you need. So the guiding principle is that as long as we dance the survival dance, we will feel disconnected. And in that survival dance, Yumi and I, even though we are very good friends and love each other deeply, we felt disconnected. What connects us? And so over the years, what revealed itself are in 3 invisible connectors that connect us. And if we embrace them fully, we will feel increasingly connected. And really for Yumi and myself, in applying these, in embracing these three invisible connectors, our relationship flourished. And so here they are. The first one, invisible and yet palpable, is the relational space between two people. The relational space is what babies very quickly pick up on. If the relational space is clear and safe and joyful and fertile, babies relax. By the way, dogs too. Dogs know the relational space, and if it's polluted, dogs run away. And if it's safe, they come to lie in it. And we all know that space because you can go visit friends and they've just had a terrible fight and they love you. So when you come, they go, "Hey, Cherri." However, you know that even though they love you, there's toxicity in the space between. So it's invisible and palpable, and we are responsible for the quality of the relational space. The second invisible connector is a bridge between my world and your world. And why does there need to be a bridge? Is because people who fall in love are incompatible. Only incompatible people get married to each other, because the person we fall in love with is so different from us, because that's the only way we're going to flourish and grow, is through that incompatibility when we know how to embrace it. But if we don't have a bridge, then the incompatibility becomes a problem. The grandmother of a friend says, if the two of us are the same, one of us is superfluous. And that's really true. We need in a relationship to be two very different people. The bridge is there so we can come across and visit the world of the other. A very different world with a different language, a different culture, a different rhythm, different music. And what we do over that bridge is we learn the language of our partner. A good marriage, a good relationship is bilingual. Yumi speaks Hedy and I speak Yumish. And so we are really bilingual people. And the third invisible connector is called the encounter. And the encounter is that magical time where you feel so profoundly connected, heart to heart, essence to essence. But you can have the encounter also with music. You can listen to a piece of music you've listened to many times, and suddenly you enter the zone of the encounter with that piece of music and you begin to cry. You don't even know. Whoa, it's touching me in ways I never felt before. Or nature. You can walk in nature and then suddenly you enter the zone of the encounter and everything smells different and feels different. The colors are brighter. It's the encounter. And we, of course, can have an encounter with our fellow human, with our partner. And there we feel a sense of connection that we dream about that feels like eternal time. We are now in eternal time. And so the embrace of these three invisible connectors is what allows us to really make the true, authentic meeting of one soul to another soul. And the way they are connected, all three, is when we take responsibility for the quality of the space and we cross the bridge to the other with new eyes, completely new eyes, then we are creating the conditions for that encounter.
Absolutely, and so beautifully put. So Hedy, in a relationship which did happen between Mike and I, when there's a huge disconnect, not only because we're different people, but because a trauma has been thrown into the mix. I was trying to climb the bridge to Mike's life, to his neighborhood, to see what was happening, and he was doing the same to me. If we had known to do that, we would have been in a very different place.
Right.
We didn't know. We were like you and Yumi. We didn't know how to cross that bridge, how to break down that wall so that we could feel connected again. So the relational space between people who are suffering loss is very much characterized by loneliness, a lack of understanding. Our Western society makes us feel that guilty if we are feeling sad. We're not allowed to really work through the authentic emotions that grief causes in us. And as a result of that, we hide in our own little neighborhood. So this process of crossing the bridge from one person's life to the other person's life, in your experience, would it work for bereavement as well?
It's a very wonderful question. And the first thing I want to say is this, that as soon as there is big trauma, because we suffer each in our own way and often incompatibly, we suffer incompatibly, we are in our survival dance. Each one of us surviving in the relationship because we don't know how to welcome each other inside of the depth of these emotions. And so the survival dance intensifies, and we feel like maybe we can't be together. And often, when there's been the loss of a child, couples, because of their different styles of grieving, often ultimately separate and even divorce. And that statistically has been shown, and it's not because they are incompatible, because they are incompatible, but because they don't know how to grieve together. And so the same principle that I talked about, what will disconnect us is the survival dance, and what will connect us, either three invisible connectors, applies, of course, to grief. And you use the metaphor of the neighborhoods. And this is something we began to understand, Jumi and I, that each person is a very big world, an expanding world, because we're always learning and always growing. And the world is filled with neighborhoods. Some we know, some we don't even know, meaning we're a mystery to ourselves. There are neighborhoods of our own world that we don't even know. And grief, the loss of a child, for example, is a neighborhood in our world. And how to invite our partner into that neighborhood mutually. How do I invite you into my neighborhood of grief? How do you invite me into your neighborhood of grief is a real learning. How to come as an honoring, loving, present visitor to the neighborhood of grief. And even though both people lost the same child, the neighborhoods are completely different. Every street, every part, every park, every part of the neighborhood is different. Even though it has the same name, we lost our child. And so how to then learn the basic steps to become a good host and to become a good visitor. That is really what the couple learns, is how do I host you? How do I become transparent and real and authentic and open and vulnerable as I invite you into this neighborhood where my suffering is sometimes so big I don't even know if I can go on? How do I visit you in that neighborhood? How do I bring my full presence, my love, my honoring of you, and the privilege it is to visit you there? How do I bring that into your world? And that's what couples need to learn. All couples can learn it and really deepen their relationship, but certainly grieving couples.
I think what you said about that initially in any trauma, most couples will go into a survival dance, which then means that you are in fight or flight or freeze or appease, whichever thing happens to be your particular way of reacting to trauma. But usually it's characterized with a lot of defensiveness and therefore verbal aggression, because this person is not understanding what you're trying to say, or this person has got their neighborhood is so they don't think that we will understand their neighborhood. And so if somebody is particularly defensive in the survival dance, is it still possible to cross the bridge to their neighborhood?
This is a very wonderful question, because naturally we will be defensive in the survival dance. Some of us are defensive by becoming very quiet. Some of us are defensive by becoming reactively verbal. But this is all the survival dance. The quietness, which sometimes is easier in the survival dance, is still the survival dance. And usually those two people are married to each other. There is the quiet one who cannot express at all, and there's the verbal one who comes after the quiet one, and the space gets polluted. Both are part of the survival dance, and they are defenses because I just don't know how to be raw with you, and I'm raw. That's really it.
Yeah.
I'm raw, and I just don't know how to be raw with you or with anyone right now. And so
I think that being raw is a very, very apt way of describing it. And in your experience, Hedy, have you found that that men often are unable to express that rawness verbally? We know that they're in pain, and research has shown that men actually feel the pain more than women do. But in the fact that they are so raw and they're so frightened, is there something that we can do as the person crossing the bridge to help them feel safe?
Yes. And I would like, if it's okay, Cherri, to just explain how you establish the bridge, so that then, with that understanding, we know how to come to the neighborhood of our partner.
Beautiful.
Because there is an establishment of that bridge, and it's a unique way. To establish the bridge, we come actually quite close to each other. We sit on two chairs with a pillow behind our back, and one person's legs on the inside, one person's legs on the outside, because we are 18 inches apart. And why are we in such proximity, which is called the uncomfortable proximity, is because when a baby is born, the distance between their eyes and their mommy or daddy's eyes is 18 inches. Because the eye is structured to see the landscape of the face of the other at 18 inches. At 18 inches, I only see you. The rest is not very in focus. I just see you. And in order to really cross that bridge, we need to see the landscape on our partner's face. And so Yumi and I often teach first the establishment of the bridge, sitting like this, looking at each other for a moment, breathing, allowing ourselves to suddenly really feel the presence of the other non-verbally. And often just sitting like that will bring tears to our eyes, whether we are a man or a woman. Just sitting like that, just looking into the face, just feeling that we're alive in this moment and grateful just to be alive and together. And we take hands, we just reach out for each other's hands, and the hands begin to talk. They start moving and talking because the hands have a code that speaks so many words we cannot actually speak in words. And often, particularly if we've been a survival dance around loss, the hands can say things that we cannot yet say. And they do, automatically they begin to talk. And so sitting like this, in peace and quiet, giving each other the time just to look into each other's eyes, is the beginning of the establishment of that bridge. Because the bridge is 18 inches. There it is, 44 centimeters. There it is. And so just doing that is already a very important beginning. Breathing, being together in silence, and in gratitude for this moment. Then there is a person who's going to learn first how to be a host. And there's a person who's going to learn first how to be a visitor. And it's a good idea for who it's harder to host, who feel like maybe it's harder to put things into words, maybe it's harder to express, maybe it's harder to go into the core of the pain. That person might want to start first as a host. You know, like, let me do what's hardest for me. And usually that person is married to somebody for whom it's harder to visit, to be quiet for a while, to breathe and look and just be in the presence of their partner. And so it's good for that person to start to be the visitor. And then the person who is the host speaks an invitation. I'm inviting you, Cherri, to cross the bridge and come to me. I'd like to take you into the neighborhood of my deep, deep grief. And that's a very important invitation. Just speaking it is very vulnerable. I would like to take you into my neighborhood of my deep, deep grief. Now, the partner who's going to visit says, thank you for the invitation. And then they stay quiet for a while, because accepting this invitation means I'm going to leave my world, the world I know, the grief I know, the way I know grieving, the way I believe a person ought to grieve. I'm going to leave all that, because to you, I have to come with new eyes. You know, the French poet Marcel Proust said, the adventure of life is not the discovery of new landscapes. It's our capacity to see the old one with new eyes. And when you come across that bridge, you think you know your partner. You don't. It's a landscape you're just learning about. And the willingness to cross the bridge and be a learner with new eyes is a big decision, because it means I leave my past and I dare to be in the present. And I cross this bridge in the present, in the present, in the present. When I land with you, my world has disappeared. And my neighborhood that has your name in it has disappeared. I need to be a novice, a beginner's mind with you. That's an enormous decision. It's certainly a decision that we need to make all the time to live in the present. But it's a tough one, because the past and the future are thieves of the present, but they are there continuously. And so when I say to you, Cherri, I accept your invitation and I am going to come over to be with you, it means I am willing to have my new eyes for you, as if I've never met you before. And the truth is that I've never been in your grief neighborhood. So it's true that I'm going to have new eyes, but it's a complete attitude that says, I will be present in the present. And that's the beginning of the visit. You see, so there's a lot that already occurred that there haven't been any words yet besides establishing the bridge and an invitation and an acceptance. But unless that gets done, we don't have the conditions for a successful visit.
And that's, I think, thank you for answering. That is, in fact, that will help people to feel safe before they actually start on experiencing their partners.
Exactly. It's the establishment of a mutual contract for safety. Because I will come to you with new eyes, and you will take me in to a neighborhood maybe you even haven't visited fully, you know?
And so, Hedy, once I have arrived in your world, just talk us very briefly through, so what happens then?
Okay, perfect. Once you have arrived in my world, my first thing is to really look at you and know you've come to be with me. And there is nothing I have to say or do now besides be real. That's all. I mean, that's big, but that's all. So I first take in the fact that you've landed. I look into your eyes and I let you into my heart. And I say the first thing that comes, it could be, thank you for being here with me. Could be. Could be, whoa, I don't know what to say. Could be, gosh, I've never felt you that close with your eyes there. You know, whatever that first thing is. But the contract that we've made is that I'm going to take you into my neighborhood of grief. And so after I've said whatever arrives first, because you landed, which is so nice, you know, here you are with me, then I begin to say what's there in that neighborhood. And it'll go from one street to the next street to the next street. I don't yet know what the trajectory will be. And certainly my visitor has no idea. None. Because I don't even know. So how could you know? But I let myself speak the first street, whatever that is. I miss our little one so much. Or I don't know how to cry. Or this is probably the hardest thing I've ever felt in my life. You know, whatever that first street is, I say it. And my partner, the visitor, will say, I hear you say, because they're learning my language, I hear you say you miss our little one so much. And you know, my visitor might start crying because they too miss our little one so much. And then you just cry together and you take the time to feel it. But the visitor keeps their attention on me because they are visiting me. So they're not going into their grief. They're being with mine. But their tears are flowing and my tears are flowing maybe. And we stay because that will be actually the first time we are together in my world and neighborhood of grief. And you are coming to be with me. And so I repeat, I hear you say, you miss our little one so much, and we stay together. And the question is, am I with you? I think when you were studying, we said, did I get you? But we've understood that now it's, am I with you? That's really the question. Am I with you? Yes. And then you will say, tell me more, because you're going to stay there till I feel like I feel complete. And the completion isn't because I told you everything that's in that neighborhood. It's that I actually feel connected with you. I feel like you have come with me in a place I could not pronounce and not experience and not share. And you are there with me, and I feel in my body, I feel full, I feel complete. And that would be the end of the visit. Certainly, there can be more visits there. I can invite you again. But for today, I really feel like you've been with me in a way you've never been before. And I feel complete. And I've taken you street by street by street, and I've discovered some things I didn't even know I was feeling because your eyes had been so present and so with me that I was able to verbalize something that lives inside of me, but I didn't even know it. And so when I feel, you say, tell me more. You just say, tell me more, because you don't know when I'm going to feel complete. But when I feel complete, when truly I feel like, wow, my body feels full, I feel nourished, and I feel connected to you, then you say that, I feel complete and connected. And then the visitor knows that's it, the end of the visit. And I'm just going to add here, Cherri, that it's a nice idea then to say to each other what I most appreciate about you as my host and what I most appreciate about you as my visitor. Because often what I most appreciate about you as my host is, wow, your vulnerability, your courage, your opening of such a deep place in you. And as my visitor, your presence, your tears that joined mine, your deep love that I experienced. You know, it's nice to speak it. And then a nice thing is to say, how is the space between us now? And people will say safe. People will say filled with sadness, because then we carry the sadness together. It's filled with sadness. It's warm. It's got potential. You know, like there are so many qualities of the space between that come from a visit. And it's nice to enumerate them together. And then we're done. We give each other a big, big hug to finish that visit. And that's one out of many that can then occur between the two of us.
I mean, it is really such a beautiful process to go from disconnection to that very deep connection and understanding. And
it's a deep connection that can only occur between that couple, because only they know this raw pain.
Yeah. And so, Hedy, when you've got to that place of that deep understanding, and you've completed the process and you've hugged each other, is there a follow-up to that, or is the only goal at this stage, to have an understanding, and we don't have to then try and resolve any of the things that might have come up?
I love what you're asking, because our tendency is to want to then do something. And I'll tell you my metaphor from the penthouse. So there's an elevator inside of us that goes from the penthouse, our thinking, to the lobby, our heart, to the basement, our raw emotions. And often our tendency is to want to go to the penthouse to solve something, talk about something, think about something. And it's best to just leave the visit alone. Because it's a visit lobby to lobby, sometimes basement to basement. Some very raw emotion may come out in this visit. It's best to leave it alone and then make an appointment and have the other person host. And the first host visit, because what they'll discover is that even though the neighborhood is different, the basements are the same. The raw emotions are exactly the same. And it's nice to discover how much our basements are the same, human to human.
Okay, that answers it beautifully. Thank you. So if we now have various visits across the bridge and we come to an increased understanding of our partner's grief neighborhood, is it true then to say that I will use that information, that increased understanding, to be able to be more compassionate in my dealings with my partner? So I might not really be able to understand fully where he or she is, but I will be able to be more empathetic and more compassionate. So there'll be a new gentleness between the two of you. Is it true to say that?
It's nice the way you say it. And the reason there is a new gentleness and a new compassion and a new level of empathy is because we visited the lobby. See, we've been with each other, lobby to lobby, heart to heart, authentic heart to authentic heart, the way you described it in the beginning. And as a result, my humanness increases. My natural compassion, my natural empathy, my open-heartedness, my warm-heartedness, all that begins to evolve. I evolve as a human. I become a more compassionate, a more open, a more heartfelt human. And in the relationship between two people, when we grow in our humanness, our relationship is much richer. That's the real flourishing of our relationship, when I'm more human and you're more human with each other.
Absolutely. And from there, you can start building towards joint healing between both of you,
Yes,
because you have
exactly.
that understanding.
Exactly. And I want to tell you, there is a South African story I want to tell you now, because it's a beautiful example of what happens sometimes after two visits, host, right? Visitor, visitor. Yumi and I came to South Africa. Yumi was 70. It was his 70th birthday. You know, he just had his 89th birthday, May 1. And this was when he had his 70th birthday. And before we came, we actually had a bridge crossing that was very meaningful. And when I describe it, our audience will be able to understand what can occur from two good visits. So Yumi had received 2 more stents in his artery. And the doctor said to him, don't travel, Yumi. Just don't travel. Stay home and rest. We came home and Yumi said, hey, Hedy, you know we're going to go to South Africa, right? Yumi, are you nuts? We're going. No, we're not. And there we were in our survival dance. I am the wise one, the smart one, the one listening to the doctor. He's the bad one, the one who is reckless. You know, the survival dance was there. And you know, I'm embarrassed to tell you, Cherri, we were in our survival dance for 2 weeks. Till we said, wait a minute, we are teaching the bridge. Shouldn't we try it, you know? And so we sat across from each other. We held hands. We looked into each other's eyes, and we actually did begin to cry because we hadn't looked with soft eyes for 2 weeks. When you're in that survival dance, you give those darting eyes. You send darts to the other one, and we hadn't sat quietly grateful like this for 2 weeks. And then we decided who was going to be the first visitor, first host, and I asked him, would he come over? And he came, and I knew right away the neighborhood I was in. Don't die. And so I said it, and as soon as I said it, I just sobbed, and I knew I had nothing else to say, just don't die. And I sobbed, and I sobbed, and I sobbed, and he held me. You know, he was on my side of the bridge, and then I felt him crying also, because he too has that neighborhood of, Hedy, don't die, you know, don't die. So we held each other for quite a while. And I didn't say more than that because there was nothing else to say. But when I had sobbed it out, I came over to his world, and he told me 3 things that have changed my life. The first thing he said is, Hedy, I am not a heart. I'm a man with a heart. And suddenly I realized that I had objectified my own husband. You know, you can treat a person as a person, a vow, a divine person, or you can treat them as an object. And if you had said, Cherri, Hedy, will you ever objectify your husband? I would say no. Well, I had objectified him. He was a heart. He was not a man with a heart. And so when I let that penetrate, I said, I hear you say that you are not a heart. You're a man with a heart. Then he said the second thing. He said, this man with his heart wants to say yes to the question, is this a good day to die? Wow, I realized if you're half dead, it's not a good day to die because you're already half dead. It's when you're fully alive and you're vibrant and you're doing your life with every bit of your enthusiasm, then it's a good day to die because you're doing life. And I realized I was going to control this heart and not let him be fully alive because I'd rather have him half alive than fully dead. And so it was just clear I was controlling the heart. And so I said, I hear you say, the man with a heart that you are would like to say, yes, this is a good day to die. And I understood it fully. And then he said, and that man wants to go to South Africa. And you know what happened after that? My father used to say, when there are 2 options, pick the third. And because we felt so connected, we created a third option. We shifted the journey to South Africa because it had Namibia and Zimbabwe, and there was so much there. We took it all out. We decided to teach 1 course and just be there to relax and enjoy because we adore your country. And so, believe it or not, because it was the third option, magic happened. A friend upgraded us to the most beautiful suite at the Rosebank Hyatt. On our way back, the pilot of South African Airlines had been to our workshop, upgraded us to first class, South African Airlines. So, everything. And we celebrated Yumi's 70th birthday 19 years ago. Here he is, alive and well. But we would not have arrived at that third option had we not connected, first in my neighborhood of Don't Die, and then in his neighborhood of I'm a man with a heart who wants to make a decision about life and death. Yes, indeed. And so the third option came from being so deeply connected, we could make that decision together.
Yeah, with an increased understanding, not our own assumptions and presuppositions.
Indeed, indeed. Yes.
So, Hedy, thank you for sharing that story about you and Yumi. I think it makes it very clear what can be achieved as a result of using the bridge to really enhance the connection.
Yes.
So as we coming to the end of our interview, is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers?
I'd like to share what our work is rooted in, because there are two paradigms to see our life. One is called the individual paradigm, and one is called the relational paradigm. The individual paradigm says that the highest purpose of life is to become autonomous and independent. The relational paradigm says the highest purpose is to live our essence, which is in connection, that we are born in connection, and that we get hurt from disconnection and we heal in connection. And that's a very different paradigm. And when people follow the individual paradigm, then you've got to solve your bereavement issues by yourself. You don't solve them by getting more connected to your partner. You are autonomous, independent, and you will fix this alone. The relational paradigm says you can't fix it alone. You're connected. You are one unit. The smallest unit is two. You are one unit and you are grieving together and you are healing together, and only together will you actually move on. Alone, you won't move on because you'll have to close the neighborhood and nobody can come in. Together, you can open the neighborhood and you can begin to visit it together, street by street, and slowly grow your empathy and your compassion and live in a rich connection with your partner. So those are two very different paradigms. And yeah,
I think that's really the gist of this video is a lot of people do it individually because they don't have another option. They don't know how to connect. And when you are trying to do that journey on your own, it's very difficult. But thank you so much for giving this amazing tool on how we can connect and come to an increased understanding, and then deal with it as you and Yumi did together with increased understanding of where two neighborhoods are looking like. That the decisions that you make are much better and much more gentle, and, as I say, much more compassionate to both of you. So in other words, your healing can start and you can gently start moving forward.
Exactly.
So yeah, what you've said has been really, really amazing. And I hope that for our viewers out there, you'll be able to take what Hedy has said, the process that she's introduced us to, and start using it as soon as you can, whether you've got a good relationship or whether you're in a trauma or whether you are suffering from grief. It will always enhance the relationship because we have increased understanding of each other. And Yeah, so I would like to encourage you, if you want to find out more about this process, Hedy, where should they, how should they contact you, or where can they find out more information about this?
The best way is really through our website, through my website now, and let's see, HedySchleifer.com.
Brilliant. So you'll see we've written it in caps below. That is Hedy's website. Go and visit it and see what she offers to us. And there's a wealth of information there. Before I conclude, I just want to mention that I would like to offer a free gift to the viewers. If you want to know whether you're grieving, or you in your grieving process, whether you are in trouble, then please drop me an email at cherriforsyth@gmail.com. Again, you can see it below. And I will email you the signs to watch out for, so that if you are experiencing some of those signs, you know that you need to maybe be getting some kind of professional help, or you need to go onto Hedy's website and start doing the bridge. But don't stay there in a place where actually you are in crisis.
You know, guidance. Yeah. Guidance at that time.
Yeah. So, Hedy, in conclusion of this this wonderful interview, I firstly want to thank you for sharing your very valuable time with all of us, for sharing your wisdom, and for so beautifully explaining this very, very sacred process of discovering somebody else's essence. And so instead of being two people individually in their painful corners, that you've shown us a way by using the bridge where we can cross the bridge and discover the essence of our partners to enhance our understanding, our courage, our perception of where they are, and that together we can make a decision that will be more healing for us, be connecting for us rather than disconnecting. So thank you, Hedy, again for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Cherri.